Arthur was excited. It was almost Easter. He was having a party. Balloons and streamers hung everywhere. There were colorful eggs hidden in the backyard. Arthur couldn't wait to celebrate with his friends.
This is going to be the best Easter ever.
DW was helping too. She wore a bunny ear headband and giggled as she placed colorful eggs in a basket. Arthur's mom smiled as she was putting the finishing touches on a delicious-looking cake. It had colorful frosting and little chocolate bunnies all around. Arthur's dad was outside setting up the picnic table. He whistled a happy tune. Everything was perfect. Almost. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Arthur rushed to answer it. Standing there was a tall figure in a trench coat and a hat pulled low over their eyes.
Special delivery.
Before Arthur could react, the figure shoved a large box into his paws and disappeared around the corner. Arthur was confused. He didn't remember ordering anything. Curious, he opened the box. Inside, instead of a delivery, was a note. It read, "Thanks for the cake, suckers." Arthur's jaw dropped. The cake! He raced back to the kitchen. The cake was gone. DW, someone stole our cake! Arthur cried, his voice filled with frustration. The cake, a delicious chocolate masterpiece, had been the highlight of their day, and now it was gone.
Who would do such a thing? Arthur's sister asked, her voice trembling with disbelief. The siblings exchanged worried glances, their minds racing to figure out the culprit.
DW, never one to miss out on excitement, gasped dramatically, her eyes wide. "This is a mystery!" she exclaimed, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. She loved mysteries, especially ones involving cake. Arthur paced back and forth, his mind racing. Who could have done this? He muttered, trying to piece together the events of the day. He thought about everyone who had been near the cake. It must have been that suspicious character at the door. Arthur suddenly exclaimed, his face lighting up with realization. He remembered the strange knock earlier that afternoon. He said, recalling the figure's muffled voice and quick getaway. "They must have been after the cake all along," Arthur added, his voice filled with determination.
"We need to find them," DW declared, her small fists clenched. "But how?" Arthur asked, his brow furrowed. "We don't have any clues,"
DW declared, pointing a finger at Arthur. "I have an idea," she said confidently. "We'll use magic to solve this mystery."
"I know just the thing. Abracadabra, find the cake stealer," DW shouted, waving an imaginary wand in the air. Arthur looked skeptical, but decided to play along.
As soon as she uttered the last word, a strange energy filled the room. The air seemed to shimmer, and a faint humming sound grew louder. The house began to shake. The floor vibrated. The walls groaned. Arthur and DW clung to each other, their eyes wide with fear and excitement. Suddenly, with a loud crack, the entire house broke apart and flew into the air. The siblings screamed, holding on tightly as the pieces of their home swirled around them like a magical whirlwind. Arthur and DW held on for dear life as their house soared through the air. They landed with a bump in a very strange place. It was a cemetery. Tombstones loomed around them.
"Where are we?"
DW whispered, clinging to Arthur's arm. Arthur gulped. He was scared, but he had to be brave for DW, I don't know, he admitted, his voice shaky. "But we need to find the pieces of our house so we can get back home." Just then, they spotted something. A piece of their roof with its distinctive chimney was resting on top of a tall monument. Arthur and DW climbed down from the monument, carrying the roof piece. The piece was heavier than they expected, and their arms ached from the effort. But they knew they couldn't stop now. This was just the beginning of their adventure, and they were determined to see it through.
Ugh, this thing is heavier than it looks. Why did we even agree to carry this? Arthur, are you sure this is the right piece? It feels like it's made of lead.
As they continued their search, the wind picked up, carrying a familiar tune. It was faint at first, like a whisper in the breeze, but it grew louder with every step they took. The sound seemed to be calling them, guiding them towards something important.
Wait, do you hear that? It's like music? Or maybe whistling? It's coming from over there.
It was the sound of their bathtub whistling as it spun through the air. The sight was both hilarious and alarming. The bathtub twirled like a top, its shiny surface catching the sunlight as it soared above the trees.
Oh no, not again. Why does this always happen to us? We can't let it get away this time.
The bathtub splashed down in the middle of a pond, sending ripples across the water. The once calm surface was now alive with movement, as if the pond itself was excited by the unexpected visitor. Arthur and DW raced towards it, their feet pounding against the ground. They could feel their hearts racing, not just from the run, but from the thrill of the chase. This was their chance to finally catch the bathtub and bring it back home.
We'll never catch it like this. It's too far out in the water, and we don't have a boat or anything to reach it.
DW cried, pointing at her clothes. Her once clean outfit was now splattered with mud and water, and she looked absolutely miserable. But Arthur wasn't ready to give up just yet.
We need to be sneaky. If we can't reach it directly, maybe we can find another way to get closer without scaring it off.
Arthur thought for a moment. His eyes scanned the pond, searching for anything that could help them. That's when he noticed something unusual. He noticed some lily pads scattered across the pond. They were large and sturdy, almost like tiny floating platforms. An idea began to form in his mind.
Uh-oh, I know that look. What are you thinking, Arthur? Please don't tell me you're planning to use those lily pads.
Arthur's face lit up with an idea. I have an idea, he exclaimed, his excitement contagious. DW groaned, but she knew there was no stopping him now. They used the lily pads as stepping stones, carefully making their way towards the bobbing bathtub. Each step was a test of balance and courage, but they were determined to succeed.
I can't believe I'm doing this. But it's actually kind of fun, DW whispered, a small smile creeping onto her face despite herself.
With lily pads on their heads as disguises, Arthur and DW tiptoed across the pond, determined to reach their runaway bathtub. The adventure was far from over, but they were ready for whatever came next. With the roof and the bathtub secured after their last adventure, Arthur and DW were finally ready to relax. But as they gazed out the window, something unusual caught their attention. A twinkling object in the sky shimmered brightly, almost as if it were calling to them. To their astonishment, it wasn't a star or a plane, it was their living room. Somehow, it was orbiting Earth like a miniature satellite, with their favorite couch and lamp floating weightlessly in space.
How are we gonna reach that? Arthur asked, scratching his head as he tried to think of a plan.
DW wondered aloud, her eyes wide with amazement. Do you think we can get it back? She asked, her voice filled with both curiosity and determination. Just then, as if on cue, they bumped into their friend, Alan, the aardvark. Alan always seemed to show up at the perfect time, and today was no exception. Alan was wearing his astronaut costume, complete with a shiny helmet and a badge that read, Space Explorer Extraordinaire. In his hands, he held a rocket ship made entirely of cardboard boxes, complete with hand-drawn flames on the sides.
Perfect timing, Alan, Arthur exclaimed, his face lighting up with excitement. We need your help!
Arthur quickly explained their predicament, pointing to the twinkling object in the sky. Alan listened intently, nodding as he formulated a plan.
Hop in! This baby is ready for liftoff, Alan declared, gesturing proudly to his cardboard creation. It's got everything we need for a space rescue mission.
Alan grinned, his enthusiasm contagious. Arthur and DW couldn't help but smile back, their excitement growing by the second. With a mighty roar, the cardboard rocket ship blasted off, carrying Arthur, DW, and Alan into the great unknown. Together, they soared through the stars, determined to rescue their floating living room and bring it safely back to Earth. The adventure had only just begun. Back on solid ground, Arthur, DW, and Alan looked around for the remaining pieces of their house. Suddenly, DW pointed towards the sky.
Look!
She shouted.
It's raining furniture!
Floating among the fluffy white clouds were their kitchen table, chairs, and even the refrigerator. They were heading straight for a giant fluffy cloud that looked like a mountain of cotton candy.
We need to get those pieces before they're lost forever,
Arthur exclaimed. Thinking fast, he grabbed a nearby rope and tossed it towards the cloud. With a grunt, he and Alan began to climb, pulling the furniture down one by one. With all the house parts gathered, Arthur, DW, and their friends worked together to rebuild their home. They hammered, they painted, and they laughed. Soon their house was back to its old self, even better than before. The Easter decorations were back up, and the delicious aroma of baking filled the air. Arthur's mom had made a new cake, even bigger and better than the first.
I told you it would be the best Easter ever!
DW, still wearing her bunny ear headband, hopped with excitement. As the sun began to set, Arthur's friends and family gathered in the backyard. They feasted on cake, hunted for Easter eggs, and shared stories of their crazy day. Arthur smiled. He had learned that even when things go wrong, with a little creativity and the help of his friends, everything would always turn out okay.
Happy Easter, everyone!
The end.